Correct. Like you stated, I'm currently in District 3. The office itself, the group itself is based out of the Chief's office, so we're a little more fluid. I'm not restricted to District 3. If there's something in District 3 and District 4 or 5-4 rather, and there's something we need to work together on, or if something's going on in District 2 that needs additional officers to help review it, we can shift. We're a lot more fluid than a typical patrol unit. It is a community problem-based policing unit that it's going to be a lot more involved in the community that it's in. It's typically a 90-day, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, focusing on a very small area. It could be as small as one apartment building. It could be as small as an apartment complex. My example that I've been working on is the Neave Storrs area, which is not just the corner, but the 7 streets around that area that are making up that lower price hill neighborhood. So even this program here that I'm working on is part District 3 and it's part District 5. And that one of the reasons that I picked this, and I'm working with the quality of life officer in District 5, is because there was already the prostitution initiative going on McMicken. And that was continued with their quality of life program as well. So this was a little bit preventative as well for displacement of that prostitution. So you kind of had to look ahead and say, let's crack down here. What are the other regions that it's likely to shift to? And this area is historically known for having a fair amount of prostitution. And even the prostitution reps you get on McMicken, when you interact with those people, a lot of them are from this area, so it was only natural to kind of set up shop there to prevent that area from just receiving everything that's being moved. Unfortunately, the city's a lot larger, so 10 officers, it's going to be one small project at a time. So I hear every meeting I've gone to, why aren't you in this neighborhood, why aren't you in this neighborhood? It's a matter of give us time. And it hits the radar. That's why we're at a lot of these community meetings. I've seen some people before. We need input from the community because this doesn't just address what we feel are the problems. We're not just looking at crime stats and saying, well, this has the most crime stats, we go there. We have to kind of judge what the community wants addressed as well. So we're getting a lot of input. There's been a lot of neighborhoods that have had flyers go out, whatever else. Resident surveys, kind of getting the input of the community saying, ideally, what do you want fixed in this neighborhood? Like I mentioned, my initial project is Neave Storrs. This was a quote that I found which kind of sums up why I chose this neighborhood as prime. It's out of the urbancincinnati.com. Lower Price Hill is perhaps one of Cincinnati's overlooked neighborhoods, but with strong neighborhood schools, engaged community groups, rapidly growing local food production businesses, laundromat, community, event center, restaurant, more, all owned and managed by the community. The future and missing struggle. What this is saying, it's small, it's neglected, but there's still people who care that I can partner with. So like I said, we're looking at small areas. This is the area that I'm looking at. So this would be Party Alley, and then on your south border you have St. Michael. Your east border is going to be Burn Street, your west border is going to be State Street. The entire area is about 782,000 square feet. So this is an area that's notorious for crime, notorious for violence, notorious for drugs, notorious for prostitution. Yet this whole neighborhood will fit inside of 2 square city blocks. So there's no reason that we can't fix this. So if you go from 5th Street to 3rd Street, Elm Divide, and you had the same amount of crime that was existing in the Neave Storrs area, that would be addressed if it was in that area. And there's no reason it can't be addressed in Lower Price Hill. It's tiny. So just to touch on the prostitution run, this is the prostitution calls for service from January 1st to May 9th when I put this slide together. Each one of these red dots is a call for service to reference prostitution. This steady line here would be McMicken, and you can see it's pretty much so colored in. And then you have a few This group here would be that small Neave Storrs area, and then you have a few outlying groups as well. Whenever I pick a neighborhood, I like to figure out the storyline of the neighborhood, which is ideal for solving crime and addressing the issues. If I know that this person has been jumped by these people and then something happens to one of these people, I have somewhere to start. I know the story, and with a neighborhood, as long as it's small, you can completely understand the story. I worked over the ride for 7 years. Over the ride is a small community. You understand the storyline. So if this person gets robbed or if this car gets broken into it, you see what type of item broke into it. You can say, well, let me see if this guy's locked up real fast. If he's not, you can go and address the issue. You establish the groups of the area. There's a few that I don't think anything is too organized in this area. It's basically, you look for graffiti, you look at Facebook, you look for things that are tipping off. Tattoos. Tattoos are always a great sell. Drugs are always an issue. There's a few areas in this little area that I was looking at, probably 3 or 4 main places where everybody seemed to stand, that I felt that if I could address them, it would make a very large impact in the neighborhood. I was initially told that this was a daycare. If it is, if you have a child there, I highly recommend that you leave this meeting now and go pick up your child. Similar setup, this was another one where they were all sitting out in front, that was identified. Same situation. Same situation here, already made agreements with the property owner. There's already been several evictions. The right of entry letter is now on file, which means if there's somebody sitting on that step and they're not with a resident, well, now you're trespassing, here's your ticket. And eventually that gets very annoying to people, especially since you're going to KBS, you can have warrants for based off these trespassing. So next time I stopped you, I know you're out there selling drugs, you have a trespass ticket. I'm not just writing you a ticket anymore, now I'm going through your pockets because you're under arrest, and now they're getting extra charges, and now they don't want to get the Stoop anymore. Another example, I don't know if you can see the date, this is 5/27, so 2 days ago. This would be on Stabler Street. Another thing that's going to come hand in hand with drug trafficking, so you have the car pull up. This gentleman, I don't know if you can tell it's in his hand, but that would be an AK-47. The other gentleman who gets out of the car, you can see the muzzle flash, he's going old school with the basic handgun, but you have a lot of this whenever there's drug trafficking. There's going to be fighting over who owns that corner or trying to rob people. These people tried to sneak up on another group of guys, which were standing right about here. They were alerted, luckily, before these gentlemen got too close, and they had to just kind of open fire from a distance. Another thing that I look at is public gaming. A lot of people don't address public gaming too hard. I'm not a fan of it myself because it's typically how the time is passed when you're standing out on a corner. So if you're standing out on a corner all day, you kind of get bored and you have a lot of low denomination bills, whatever else, and plenty of time. So you start throwing dice for that. That's typically how it works. And I've been to several homicides that are the result of public gaming. Another method that I'm using in this particular neighborhood is our citywide neighborhood public safety cameras. I don't know if you're familiar with the city cameras. This top camera is on top of Queens Tower. So all the way up on Queens Tower looking down at the neighborhood, this is me just zooming in that same camera. Another method that I'm using in this particular neighborhood is our citywide neighborhood public safety cameras. I don't know if you're familiar with the city cameras. This top camera is on top of Queens Tower. So all the way up on Queens Tower looking down at the neighborhood, this is me just zooming in that same camera. So they're very effective, they're very powerful. And what this does is this kind of establishes line of sight. Main thing is it's going to be a deterrent. It's a huge deterrent, and it's great evidence gathering. So we're going to be able to control this. We're going to be able to look at whoever we want. I'm going to be able to sit at my desk, watch that, and just tell lights who to pick up. So we can do that all. You mentioned the blight index. We have a lot of buildings that look like this in the neighborhood. Things that you don't want next door to you. Things that this is where we get into a lot more of the quality of life element. It's not a Part 1 crime. It's what you hate to see when you look out the window that really, drives you insane. That's what we're kind of dealing with a lot more than any other area. So, you don't want this. This neighborhood is a little difficult to deal with, but it gets to the point that they're so used to it that you can open an actual junkyard in the middle of a residential street. And a lot of it's owned residential, and it seems to go overlooked because it's gotten to that point. And like I said, it is about partnering with people. They do have good groups that are still there and willing to help in that area. Santa Maria's down there. They're putting on everything from neighborhood concerts, so I think they're doing that every other Wednesday throughout the summer. They're offering all kinds of off-the-street programs for the kids, education programs. They're doing a bit of everything. We're getting the same assistance from BLOC Ministries. BLOC Ministries is down there. They've been incredibly helpful. Actually, I think I had a slide on Santa Maria's doing down there. Youth development with after-school health and wellness programs, early child development programs, block parties. They're doing a bunch. And then BLOC Ministries is doing a lot of the same. We were brought to BLOC Ministries because their Weightless Acre